Okay, so what we did last week during Act 1, Scene 2 was we went back through and we analyzed like Cassius talking to Brutus, and we talked about what kind of ethical appeal, emotional appeal, compare, contrast, what kind of rhetorical strategies did Cassius use on Brutus to try to convince him to join the conspiracy or to start thinking bad thoughts and talking trash about Julius Caesar. And we talked about those in terms of this list of appeals and rhetorical strategies and patterns of organization and things that we went over last week. So for this play, for this part of the play, we're reading Act 2 now. And in particular, we've come to Act 2, Scene 2. And if you've read Act 2, Scene 2, you know the following. Number one, Caesar awakes in the middle of the night, and he's not able to sleep. There's thunder and lightning. And when he comes out on stage, he even says that thrice hath Calpurnia called out in her sleep, "Help, ho, they murder Caesar." And the thing is that Calpurnia is having nightmares that Caesar is getting murdered. And she describes it in great detail in Scene 2 here, Act 2, Scene 2. And the thing is that she tries to tell Caesar, like, don't go to work today. Don't go to the Senate. There's going to be bad things that happen. And he's kind of a jerk, and he's like, no, I'm going to go to work because he's a man. No, you can't tell him what to do. He's the leader of the free world. He's the manliest man on earth, and he actually brags about himself. He's like, I'm going to go forth because I'm like a lion, and I'm more terrible and more fierce. So he does reveal kind of his arrogance in Act 2, Scene 2 if you read it. But you have to read that yourself. Here's the question, though, is that at the end of the scene, Decius Brutus, one of the conspirators, is able to convince Caesar to come to the capital. And we're going to follow the same model we did before, where we're going to try to identify what Decius said and identify which term Decius is using. So, referring to this particular scene right here, what he's saying, Decius says to Caesar, and here's the thing is that Caesar already told him, he's like, well, just to let you know, I'm not coming to work because my wife had a dream in which people were stabbing me to death. And Decius goes, oh no, this dream is all a misinterpreted. It was a vision fair and fortunate. Your statue spouting blood in many pipes in which so many smiling Romans bathe signifies that from you great Rome shall suck reviving blood, and that great men shall press for tinctures, stains, relics, and cognizance. This by Calpurnia's dream is signified. In other words, Calpurnia had a nightmare where Caesar's being stabbed to death, and Decius completely reinterprets the dream. So if he reinterprets the dream and turns it from being something negative into something positive, what kind of an appeal is it? Is it a logical appeal, an ethical appeal, or an emotional appeal? Well, in particular, this is yet another emotional appeal because he's like, oh no, you see, you're interpreting the dream all wrong. Like, it really is good because you're such a great leader that Rome shall be better as a result. So what we're going to put into this text box here is we're going to identify this as an emotional appeal. Now, once again, you will have to explain, well, why would Decius do this? What is his rhetorical effect? What effect is he trying to have on Caesar by doing it? So then another thing takes place. And, he says to Caesar, he goes, you probably should come to the Senate, because when you hear what I have to say and know it now, the Senate has concluded to give this day a mighty crown to Caesar. And if you shall send word that you will not come, their minds may change. So he says, like, by the way, we were considering giving you, this honor, this crown. So if we had to identify which appeal it is, once again, it's kind of it's a little bit logical because you should come because you'll get this reward, but it's also emotional. So we're going to once again label this as an emotional appeal. I'm going to set the setting, and we'll even put somewhat logical because it kind of is. I'm going to move it up a little bit. But the question is like, why would Decius, what effect on Caesar does what Decius say here? And actually, this quote is a continuous quote right here, 95 through 100, etc. So I'm going to, besides, it were a mock, apt to be rendered for someone to say, break up the Senate till another time, when Caesar's wife shall meet with better dreams. If Caesar hide himself, shall they not whisper, lo, Caesar is afraid? Well, what kind of reasoning is that? Well, once again, here it is. It were a mock, apt to be rendered, that we should not have the Senate until your wife has better dreams. Like, yeah, you shouldn't be listening to your wife. Like, come on, dude, come on, bro, we got to go to the Senate. People make fun of you if you were listening to your wife. And I hate to say it, but like that's a juvenile thing that young boys and men do. You're like, don't be listening to her. You do what you got to do. This whole appeal to masculinity, and unfortunately, like, um, that's a problem. And Caesar responds with, "Yeah, you're right. Yeah." So in either case, this is another emotional appeal, and we're going to label it as such. So emotional. And then last but not least, then Decius Brutus even says, and pardon me, Caesar, for my dear, dear love to your proceeding bids me tell you this, and reason to my love is liable. In other words, I have to tell you this because I care about you, okay? And I don't want I want you to know like what people are going to be thinking, etc. And the crazy part is the key word in this is my love is liable, and me, my dear, dear love to your proceeding. Pardon me, Caesar. When somebody is calling upon their personal character uh, to support their own argument, so using the speaker's personal character to support an argument, this is what is known as an ethical appeal. But once again, for all three of these or all four of these, I want to know like why would Decius Brutus say these things and what effect did they have on Caesar? So, in order for you to finish the graphic organizer, and I've moved last week's assignment to this week and I've changed the due date, go ahead and fill in the terms, but you also then have to explain why would that appeal to Caesar for Decius Brutus to say this.